It's here. On the other side of the world, the new millennium has arrived. Welcomed in ways as varied as the people on Earth. Ready to follow time across the Middle East and Europe and bring in the new year from Israel and Egypt to France and the United Kingdom. And later, we'll make you part of the greatest New Year's celebration in Canadian history.
This is 2000 Today. From the Canadian Broadcasting Centre, here is Peter Mansbridge.
And good afternoon and welcome to the atrium of the Toronto Broadcast Centre. This is now our home base for the rest of our coverage. If you've been watching us over the past 12 hours, that's right, we started 12 hours ago, you've seen that half of the world almost has already welcomed the new millennium. It's the next half that really counts, of course, because we're in that next half. So we still have 14 hours to go, and we have a lot of excitement, a lot of things to show you over the next 14 hours. This will be our home base. A little quiet around here now. It's not going to be in about 5 or 6 hours when our atrium area of the Toronto Broadcast Centre will also be turned into a party scene, as they're about to welcome, of course, the millennium here in about 7.5 hours' time. Now, we're live, as we've already shown you, in almost every time zone of the country. Everywhere the millennium is welcomed, we're there live through the cooperation of our networks, 60 other television networks around the world. It's produced some spectacular moments of television unseen before in the history of our medium. We're celebrating at midnight almost every hour. Coming up in this hour, in just 30 minutes' time, it'll be time for the new millennium in Greece, in Israel, in South Africa, Egypt, and Finland, just to name a few, and we'll see them all either live right up at the top of the clock, or we'll quickly turn around the tape and show you what happened in the different countries that we're not covering live. In fact, we're bringing you some of the most spectacular performances seen anywhere around the world and here in Canada.
Snowbirds, smoke now.
This
is Major Bob Bayshore from the number 1 cockpit, the 431 Air Demonstration Squadron. The Snowbirds, on behalf of the serving members of the Canadian Forces and the 15th Wing Militia Team, I extend my sincere best wishes to all the people of Saskatchewan and to all Canadians into the new millennium. Je passe de pilotage numéro 1, ici le Major Bob Bayshore de l'équipe de démonstration des forces canadiennes, les Snowbirds.
And how's that for spectacular? The Snowbirds, Canada's aerobatic team, performing over southern Saskatchewan in the last couple of days. They put this together for us to show as the Snowbirds sing Happy New Year from the skies flying over the Saskatchewan legislature in Regina. They're based, of course, out in Moose Jaw, and it's great to have them as part of our show here on the lead up to Millennium Night in Canada. Well, we're going to be all across the country tonight when the clock starts ticking close to midnight, starting 5 hours from now, 6 hours from now, when the first millennium celebrations take place out in St. John's as Newfoundland welcomes the year 2000. And in St. John's right now, Sean Majumber is in the St. John's Harbour. He's actually on land at the edge of the St. John's Harbour. It's already dark there. The last sunset of the 1900s is gone. Sean, where are you? There you are. How are things in St. John's?
Well, right now, as you can see, the snow has just come out of nowhere. A few moments ago, it was a balmy 8 degrees. If you don't like the weather in Newfoundland, wait a minute, as they say. I'm actually here, Peter, atop Signal Hill on Cabot Tower, and there's been so many firsts happened right up from this very point. I'm very honored to be, a Canadian and more importantly, a Newfoundlander right here, because we're going to be the first in North America to bring in the new year, the new millennium. It's pretty wild to think about.
And when you think about it, the eyes of not only Canada, but the rest of the world are going to be on Newfoundland because of that very fact, of course, with that benefit of that time zone you've got, you're ahead of everybody. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to see down in the harbor later tonight.
Well, we've got a huge concert that's going to be happening, including some great Newfoundland talent, Kim Stockwood, Great Big Sea, the Ennis Sisters, plus there's a giant children's choir. There's so many things going on down there. I'm going to be down there in the mix of it all with all the people, which is so important to me because, you know, you see all these people all around. They're having a good time. Newfoundlanders, they know how to party, Peter, so we'll see you later.
Yeah, you sure will. Love that sweater. Is that one of those made in St. John sweaters?
Nope, made in Ottawa. Hello, Canada.
All right, they'll forgive you for that in St. John's. Sean Majumber, we'll get back to you later on as the Millennium gets welcomed in St. John's an hour and a half before the rest of Canada, and we're looking forward to it. Now, from St. John's to Charlottetown, the birthplace of Confederation. They're getting ready for quite a party there tonight. Jonathan Torrance, the host of John-O-Vision, is down there in front of Province South.
Hi, Peter.
Jonathan, great to see you again.
Nice to be here.
Now, any of those 17,000 people started gathering yet?
Those 17,000 people have in fact started to gather. There are, I would guess, between 500 and 1,000 people here right now. And I would like to say that although St. John's has George Street, here in Charlottetown we have Great George Street, and it promises to be a spectacular affair. Some Acadian entertainment with a Cadillac, Lenny Gallant still to come, which people are really looking forward to. And all across the island there have been events which have been fantastic for the day and for the ringing in of the new year. In fact, our own Boomer Gallant was in Surrey this afternoon, the easternmost point in the island, for a very special event. Let's take a look.
Well, I'm inside the Surrey rink here in beautiful Prince Edward Island, the first spot in PEI that the sun comes up every morning and shines off a few foreheads, including mine, right guys? Well, I'm joined by former NHLers and WHA hockey players, professionals. They're gathered in Surrey for an NHL old-timers game. Gordy Whitlock, who did a lot of work in the Maritime Junior Leagues, Senior Leagues, coaching our Charlottetown Junior A team. It's Jamie Kennedy from the WHA New York Raiders. How many goals did you get, Jamie?
4.
4! Not bad for 5 years of playing. And Forbes Kennedy, of course, everyone knows Forbes, Boston Bruins, Philadelphia Flyers, and the man the late Punch Imlach said started World War III one night. Do you remember that, Forbes?
No.
No, the other players do, and a couple of referees. Well, happy Millennium from Surrey. The game's about to get underway. Let's have a face-off here. Jamie and Gordy, see who wins it. You referee for a change, Forbes, okay? Here we go. All right. Happy New Year. All right, Forbes, boy. Good stuff, guys. Real good. Oh, yeah.
That was our own Boomer Gallant in Surrey, Prince Edward Island a little earlier today. Again, 17,000 people expected in downtown Charlottetown. It's going to be quite a party.
Jonathan, we can't wait to check in with you later on this evening. Jonathan Torrance in Charlottetown. Well, let's go from PEI to Sydney, Nova Scotia. Laurie Graham is joining us there. They're already warming up the crowd in Sydney. Laurie, what can you tell us?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, hello, Peter. We're here in Sydney, Cape Breton, my hometown, and a place to be this evening. What would a Cape Breton party be without the Barry McNeils? I'm interrupting their sound check, actually. Lucy McNeil, how are you? What are you expecting tonight?
Very cold, but very excited. We're going to have thousands of people here, all kinds of families, and a lot of fun.
Yes, and you know what? Part of the fun is actually step dancing and singing some Cape Breton music. I'm a Cape Bretoner, and there's something I've never learned to do, and that's step dance. Maybe you can help me this evening, and that'll be my resolution.
All these winters.
Let's get started. See if we can play a few. No, I haven't done this before. Everyone's having a great time here, Peter. We're going to step dance all night, party all night. Come on back and join us.
We will, Laurie. We're looking forward to that. That Laurie Graham. She's not only a great reporter, she's step dancing. She also got a hole-in-one golfing this year. What a year 1999's been. 2000, could it be better? Well, we'll also be in New Brunswick tonight in Atlantic Canada, so don't miss that. Moving into Ontario at the Air Canada Centre. The Tragically Hip performed tonight. One of the big moments that we'll have on our program later on tonight. Ralph Benmergui is outside the Air Canada Centre. Ralph, what can you tell us?
Well, I can tell you it's going to be a big show. I mean, they're just starting to show up now, but by 7:30 the show will start. You'll see the Mahones, the Sky Diggers, all kinds of bands. And then finally, just before midnight, of course, you'll see the Tragically Hip. And just after midnight, we'll get a chance to see them as well. And over here on the other side of the Gardiner Expressway, there'll be hundreds of thousands of people who'll be gathering to see fireworks over Lake Ontario and the harbour. So it should be quite a night.
They've got quite the setup out in the harbour. They put all these old Great Lakes freighters out there, loaded them up with fireworks. They're going to fire them all off at midnight.
I don't want to see Bob McDonald sailing. That's all I know. It's not a night for him to sail. No.
All right. Well, listen, look forward, Ralph, to checking in with you later. That Tragically Hip concert was sold out in 22 minutes.
I can get you a scalper's ticket if you want.
Yeah, I'm afraid to ask what those would cost.
about 100
Thanks,
a
Ralph.
pop. All right, I'll see
We're
you
heading
later.
from Toronto to Winnipeg, where Diana Swain and Chris Walby are standing by. I can see Chris. Chris, where's Diana?
I tell you what a show right here. I'm here with a couple of my friends. This is Bob, this is Mark, a couple of the big Belgian boys. These are party animals. Come on down. They're giving free rides around the Forks all day. There's lots of stuff going on. We see Diana going by. Hopefully we'll get her back for the rest of the show. There's lots of stuff going on. Hey, listen, you want to renew your marriage vows tonight? You can do that today. Come on back to the Millennium Party. This is the big party, boy, I tell you. See you later.
Thanks,
I'll tell
Chris.
you,
Chris with Diana. Diana, what can you tell us?
The marriage vows are the last thing on my mind right now. I'm hanging on for dear life just now. This is my buddy Ray and his dogs. If you're going to celebrate the new millennium in Winnipeg, you might as well do it outside in the snow. So that's what we're doing here at the Forks. There's going to be lots going on. They've got fireworks a couple times tonight. Lots of kids down here. It's like Pan Am in the winter.
All right, Diana Swain and Chris Walby at the Forks in Winnipeg. That's the junction of the Red and the Assiniboine Rivers, and they've made a spectacular area out of that old abandoned railway yards area that they've cleaned up, and the Forks now is the centerpiece in the Manitoba capital. Well, let's hop a couple of provinces to Vancouver. Ian Hanaman Singh standing by at the Science Centre. Ian.
Well, Peter, if it looks like I'm huddled around a fire in an empty parking lot, that's because I am. But I promise it will get a lot more exciting here. That's Science World over my shoulder. And when it gets dark in Vancouver in about 5 hours' time, we'll have concert performances, street performers, and a lot of umbrellas. It is December in Vancouver, so guess what? It's raining, and it's relatively cold here right now.
And that would be different from what? December raining?
Different from
Doesn't it
July,
rain all
actually.
the time?
That's right. Well, there were 4 days in July, but we decided not to celebrate the millennium there. Now, I sort of feel like breaking into a doo-wop song with this fire in front of me, but this is a dream fire event, and what they're going to do tonight is have people writing down their millennial wishes and hopes and dreams and putting it on a piece of paper. My trusted assistant, Vanna, is right here with the piece of paper, and I thought maybe, Peter, you might want to share with us or silently make your millennial wish, and I'll put it in the fire for you. How would you prefer to do it?
I just silently made it.
Okay, me too. So we put it in here, and our wishes will come true for the next millennium.
That's great. Love that, Ian. We'll see you later on this evening for the celebrations that take place in Vancouver. Well, we haven't stopped. We're going to keep going even further west to the west coast of Vancouver Island, one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. The beach near Ucluelet, and Charmaine Crooks is there. Charmaine.
That's right. You know, this is one of the most beautiful places on earth, I think, and we're at the edge of Western Canada. Here I am. I'm standing on my own private beach. I've got the Roots Lodge in front of me, and the sun even came out. Well, later on, we're going to have the whole community of Ucluelet, this beautiful small community here on the west coast. The whole town's going to come out and party with us out on the terrace there. And then later on, we're going to go inside with a great Canadian legendary band, the Grapes of Wrath, are going to be there, as well as a young 13-year-old singing sensation, Juliana Harper, from Vancouver Island. So we're going to have it West Coast style, so it's going to be laid back, it's going to be a lot of fun, and there's no rain. It's fabulous.
Hey, can't wait. Charmaine Crooks, we'll talk to you later on in Ucluelet, British Columbia.
Okay,
well, that's a snapshot of what to expect in Canada, what to expect in a few moments' time in London, England. Here's Anne McMillan joining us from on top of Canada House, right by Trafalgar Square, and the Queen about to do something there now, right?
Yeah, she's about to light a beacon, Peter, on a barge in the Thames right by Tower Bridge, and that will be one of many beacons right across this country which will shine into the new millennium. The Queen has had a busy day. She started out by going to a drug and rehabilitation centre, something to do with the new look monarchy, caring about the less privileged, and she went to church to remind people what the real message of the whole millennium is for her, the Christianity message. And now she is about to go and light this beacon. But I've got to tell you, there are 1.5 million people in central London right now. Peter, I've just talked to the police, and they're expecting even more. People are pouring in. There's all sorts of stuff going on. There's a huge midway running right from Buckingham Palace down to Trafalgar Square, lots of rides, and there are bands playing, and the big Millennium Wheel has just been inaugurated by Prime Minister Tony Blair, so it's really exciting here.
And the excitement's been building there all day, because in many parts of the world we've seen the crowds have only really started to build in those last hour or so before midnight. But you've got, what, still a couple of hours to go yet before the official welcoming of the new millennium. But the crowds have been busy in London all day long.
Well, Britain has always loved New Year's Eve. There have always been big parties here, particularly in Scotland. But London is proudly boasting that they are the biggest millennium party city in the world this year, and they've really made a huge effort, and so far it's been absolutely peaceful and fun and great, and the crowds, as I say, are continuing to pour in.
you know, we've been pretty lucky so far. No Y2K problems to note anywhere around the world. Any concern there as we approach that hour?
Not at all. Although somebody on BBC television showed a watch that had gone wrong because they had set it 2 hours ahead. So that caused great consternation for about 30 seconds.
All right. Well, speaking of 30 seconds, we're told the Queen is running about 30 seconds behind schedule, but we expect to see her at any moment. Here's the beginning of the fireworks along the Thames. Live from London. That's the controversial Millennium Ferris wheel as we see the Queen has arrived now for the lighting of the National Beacon.
Your Majesty, on behalf of the nation, I have the honour to invite you to light this, your National Beacon. I've just got to hold it.
Torch there actually symbolic of what is about to take place, because the Queen will in fact be pressing a button guided there by the aide, which will suddenly light up the new national beacon anchored in the middle of the Thames.
The wind is taking the flame away.
A bit of difficulty there, but that may be the wind. I guess they're going to use the torch to light the button, which will light the beacon.
Yes, I know.
What was that about Y2K? Well, looks like it's getting a little finger assist there. Boom, here we go.
That will now burn for 20 seconds.
20 seconds, they're saying, as this light moves along the...
Which will then ignite the flame.
We hope.
There it is, look.
There it is. The lighting of the National Beacon, and this is going to begin a wall of flame 30 meters high.
Quicker than the fuse. Quicker than the
visible, they say, for miles. And it's the signal for the rest of the country to light their beacons. The United Kingdom united in an ancient ceremony dating back to the arrival of the Spanish Armada. And the beacons were used to warn the British that the Spanish were coming. So a momentary glitch there, but the beacon is now well lit. And as Anne has been telling us throughout the day, it signals the lighting of beacons across the United Kingdom. Spectacular scenes in the middle of London tonight, and they'll continue over the next couple of hours. The Queen seeming to quite enjoy the display. We still got Anne on the line by the way. Oh, great. Now, Anne from on top of Canada House, could you see this happening? Thought we had Anne. We're having a little little trouble hooking up with Ann. We'll try this again. Okay, Ann, if you can hear us now, a spectacular sight that we're seeing. Can you see it from where you are on top of Canada House?
Not quite, because I have to look right across a lot of buildings towards the Thames. I can't quite see it, but I can hear it, and it sounds wonderful.
All right, Ann, we'll be back to you later because we've already moved our cameras, focusing them now in Greece. In Athens, a performance at the Acropolis tonight. Midnight in Greece, just 10 minutes away. A major concert's underway at the Acropolis, the ancient temple that's dedicated to the goddess Athena. There'll be a spectacular light effect as well as the concert. From Athens, Greece, to Bethlehem. Live pictures here, just moments away from the arrival of the new year, the new century, the new millennium. 3 minutes to go in Bethlehem. To go in Bethlehem, where Mary gave birth to the baby Jesus 2,000 years ago. In a few moments, they'll be releasing 2,000 white doves. They'll be set free into the Bethlehem sky with an audio-visual light display going on in the background. And that will take Bethlehem into the year 2000. Crowd reacting to the singing and the realization that in just 30 seconds, the new year, the new millennium arrives. Fireworks and the expected release of doves, symbolic in a way to the problems of the Middle East. The doves representing peace, trying to dodge all the fireworks. There they are. Five seconds to the year 2000. The millennium welcomed in Bethlehem. Manger Square packed this evening. Fireworks, those of joy, the expectation and the hope for peace. 2000 arrives in the birthplace of Christ. The celebration of those there gathered in Manger Square in Bethlehem. And while Bethlehem, of course, the centerpiece of this particular time zone, it being the birthplace of Christ. But now, next door, in Egypt, this is what it looked like in the final seconds at the pyramids. The French artist Jean-Michel Jarre counting down as the new millennium arrives. Now there's a crowd. The pyramids can still draw a crowd after all these years. What a spectacular performance it's been there today. A controversial one too. At one point they were going to cap one of the pyramids with a special golden dome. But there was concern about that, and at the last minute that plan was canceled. This just a couple of minutes ago in Egypt by the pyramids. Let's watch a bit. Well, we're going from Egypt. Looks like we're going to South Africa. Same time zone. This just moments ago. Robben Island, home for Nelson Mandela for all those years that he was in jail.
Will again experience
Nelson Mandela going back to his prison cell to welcome in the year 2000. This just moments ago. Let's listen.
a human achievement. Let freedom reign. God bless Africa.
I'm an African.
President Mandela was met by his former prison colleagues, including Raymond Mhlaba, a fellow Rivonia trialist, Mr. Amit Kathrada, also a Rivonia trialist, Barbara Hogan, and Mr. James April, who was sentenced to 15 years imprisonment. Off this corridor is the cell that Mr. Mandela occupied for 18 years. Darkness of the midnight in South Africa, Nelson Mandela lights a candle in his own old jail cell. Now walks out of the cell, takes the candle, and he's going to hand it over to Thabo Mbeki, the new president of South Africa, to once again symbolize the handover of power.
This flame and to keep it in burning and to pass it to the younger generation.
very honored to pass it on to the leadership of the future.
Thank you.
I'm an African. I'm born of the peoples of the continent of Africa. Today, it feels good to be an African. Whatever the setbacks of the moment, nothing can stop us now. Whatever the difficulties, Africa shall be at peace. However improbable it may sound to the skeptics, Africa will prosper.
Nelson Mandela, unquestionably one of the people of the past century now in South Africa, his hopes and dreams for the new century, the new millennium, taking place in South Africa. From South Africa to Helsinki, Finland, and this is what it looked like just a few moments ago as the year 2000, the bells tolled and brought in the new year in Helsinki. The Lights of Hope is a huge event which takes place at the Senate Square in Helsinki City. There are upwards of 20,000 people present to watch the lighting of 2,000 candles of hope, accompanied by 40 drummers and 5 dancers. Those church bells tolling 12 times. It's a tradition all over Finland. And a scene we've witnessed through half the world, the fireworks, symbolizing the arrival of a new year, and in this case, a new millennium, an amazing new number, 2000. From Finland, we go to Estonia. Again, a replay from about 10 or 11 minutes ago. This is what it looked like in Estonia. We're in Freedom Square in Tallinn. People on the square wishing each other Happy New Year as brass bands play, folk dancers. And, hey, fireworks. From Estonia, back to Greece. Spectacular moments from the Parthenon in Greece. What a time zone this has been. From South Africa to Finland, from Estonia to Bethlehem and to Greece. We've watched them all. Welcome the new year, the year 2000. 2000 today continues in just a moment. Welcome back. I'm Peter Mansbridge, listening to the hopes and dreams of some of Canada's young as they and the rest of the world welcome the new millennium, the year 2000. We've seen half the world welcome it already. The other half, which includes, of course, Canada, coming up over the next 12 hours. It should be quite something. This is our home base for Canada 2000, or 2000 Today, as we're calling our program, in conjunction with almost 5 dozen other networks around the world. You've seen some spectacular coverage already. We've just seen the new millennium welcomed in the Middle East. You know, as part of our coverage, we've asked all of our foreign correspondents to think back to their area over the last 100 years, what's happened in that area and what the hopes and dreams are for the coming new year and the new century in that area, and to give us a report on it. Well, in a moment, we'll be talking live to our Middle East correspondent, Neil MacDonald, who's in Bethlehem. But first, as a setup, here's Neil's packaged report.
The 20th century shook the Middle East from centuries of dusty sleep. World wars redrew its maps, and oil transformed the Arabian Peninsula from a medieval nomadic society to a place of vast wealth and tremendous geopolitical importance. But without question, the most searing, wrenching, emotional event of the last 100 years here was the creation of the Jewish state. Israel was created to provide a homeland and refuge for the world's Jews who had been scattered and persecuted throughout the world. The project became more urgent in the aftermath of the Holocaust. Partly out of a desire to make restitution, a slim majority of the United Nations awarded Jews a state in the Middle East 52 years ago. The problem is they did it without the permission. In fact, they did it over the objections of the Arabs already living here. By that time, the Arabs had had enough of Western colonization, false promises, and secret betrayals. Why, they asked, should they pay the price for Hitler's wickedness? Why not give the Jews a homeland in Germany? Asked the Saudi king. Because, answered the early Zionist leaders, it is the Jews and the Jews alone who are historically connected to the Holy Land. To them, the Arabs just weren't a factor.
When the first Zionist thinkers talked about giving a country without a people, or a land without a people, to a people without a land, they related to Palestine then as a land without a people.
David Ben-Gurion, the first Israeli prime minister, in effect regarded the Arabs here as squatters. Golda Meir once said there was no such thing as a Palestinian nation. Right-wing Israelis still believe that. So the Arabs attacked and lost, again and again and again. It took 7 wars, a grinding 30-year occupation, years of extremist attacks, and a popular uprising to bring the two sides to the bargaining table. But despite Yasser Arafat's talk about a peace of the brave, the Palestinians were pathetically weak compared to Israel. They finally realized they'd have to settle for a chopped-up archipelago of near-destitute towns and cities, to concede that most of their land was lost to them. Now, going into the new millennium, the two sides are trying to work out the final details of this bitter peace, one that will probably leave them separated by high walls. The new state of Palestine is about to come into being, and Israel has established formal, if chilly, relations with some of the old enemies that surround it. Clearly, the fondest dream of Israelis is to live a normal, peaceful existence, and there's no doubt Palestinians long for the same thing. The reality, though, is bleak. Everywhere Israelis look, they see reminders of death and Jewish bloodshed, often deliberately preserved. They put up shrines and monuments in this country, not statues. Everywhere Palestinians look, they're reminded how they were crushed, dispossessed. So many pictures here of young men who died in the struggle, martyrs, they're always called.
It is here, death is everywhere. Sometimes we relate to life as a latent death.
David Grossman, who predicted the Intifada in his book The Yellow Wind, doesn't believe he'll ever see true peace. People here, he says, suck hatred through their umbilical cords.
How it changes something in you, how it kills you, how it congeals gradually on the consciousness, on the mind, on the will, on the language. And this is something that it takes superhuman power to salvage oneself from it.
That violent pathology has infected the new state of Palestine before it even comes into existence. Guided by decades of taking what they wanted and killing anyone in their way, the old revolutionaries have established a corrupt police state. Having suffered under the Israeli boot most of their lives, ordinary Palestinians are now oppressed by their own leaders. They'll have a state, all right, and if they continue down the path they've taken so far, it will emerge as just another Middle East dictatorship, governed by fear rather than by law.
We are only surviving from one catastrophe to another. We are such experts at survival, all of us, Israelis, Palestinians, Syrians, but we don't know to live. You see, this is this paradox, historic paradox of a people that all his life survived to live and eventually lived to survive only.
And people here take the long view, the very long view. 100 years is nothing when your scriptures talk of 4,000 years ago as if it was yesterday. Everyone here believes he holds divine title to this land. In such a context, the turn of the millennium is someone else's event, just a date on a calendar, and a Christian calendar at that. Neil MacDonald, CBC News, Jerusalem.
Well, we're going to go from Neil on tape to Neil live. Joins us now from Bethlehem, where they just welcomed the new year about 25 minutes ago. Neil, hopefully you can still hear us with all that noise around you. Set the scene there in Manger Square for us. Can you hear us, Neil? Go ahead.
The big moment happened about 20 minutes ago now, Peter. We're standing here at Manger Square. It is absolutely jam-packed with people. They marked the millennium by a giant fireworks display that just finished, and they released 2,000 rather terrified doves that are still flapping around somewhere in the heavens above Bethlehem. The Palestinians and Muslims and Christians are down here celebrating. They are billing this as where it all began 2,000 years ago. I suppose biblical scholars would correct me and say 2,003 years ago, to be technically accurate, but this is the epicenter, they say. Now, the scene in Jerusalem itself around the Holy Land is less than they hoped it would be. It's packed here, but there have been a lot fewer tourists than they hoped. In Jerusalem, for example, there are only very small crowds of people. Why? Well, there's a number of factors. The rabbinical authorities, for example, in Jerusalem, banned Christmas trees and crucifixes and New Year's celebrations. That put a bit of a damper on things. Also, the Palestinians and Israelis are experiencing the same phenomenon as is happening worldwide. People are staying home. Of course, this is in stark opposition to what's happening right behind me here tonight. Now, with regard to the Y2K problem, Israel's very technologically advanced, so we don't expect any problems with that. But what really has authorities worried here is terrorism. This square is infested with police. There are 12,000 Israeli police throughout Jerusalem and Israel checking people. The airport is bristling with security, and people are afraid, and quite properly so probably, that millennialists, apocalyptic millennialists, will see this as a chance to sort of artificially nudge the millennium along. The Temple Mount in Jerusalem, where the holy mosques are, is under heavy guard tonight, people are hoping that there won't be any kind of, I'm sorry. In any event, what we're seeing here tonight is a lot of excitement. Things are clicking on. There has been no Y2K breakdown. And as far as supposed terrorist or extremist acts happen, all we see here tonight is happiness, and we're all still here right now. Peter?
All right, Neil, thanks very much. Won't try to talk to you. You obviously can't hear us. Doing an amazing job trying to give us that report in the midst of all that noise going on in Bethlehem. Well, from where it's already the year 2000 to where it's not quite the year 2000 yet. We've got our Paris correspondent, Paul Workman, standing by, right by the Arc de Triomphe, where it's what, Paul, another 35 minutes or so away from the new year. Tell us about what's happening in Paris.
Hi, Peter. Yeah, the crowds are gathering on the Champs-Élysées. They're expecting, 1.5 million, perhaps 2 million people. We're not really sure, but it will be a big crowd, that's for sure. There is a mood of subduedness in the country itself after the storms this week that really devastated France. So many people tonight will be celebrating New Year's Eve in the cold and in the dark. There are still something like 800,000 homes in the country that don't have electricity. So as I say, the mood is not as buoyant as it possibly could be. The Champs-Élysées, however, the party is set to begin in a few minutes. The street will be filled with huge Ferris wheels. The city is trying to live up to its reputation as the City of Lights. And of course, the big moment will be at midnight when the Eiffel Tower will be lit up and fireworks will be set off in the Eiffel Tower from the upper stories. But I guess you've probably already seen half a world of fireworks.
We have seen a few fireworks.
Y2K problem.
We have seen a few fireworks, Paul, no doubt about it. Yeah, we're battling the satellites here, Paul. Let me try one on you. I think you were about to tell us anyway. Y2K, any sense of any problems in Europe so far?
Well, I was just going to say one of the first problems happened this afternoon on the Eiffel Tower. The clock that's been counting down the days for the last 2 years suddenly bugged out, and I guess we can call that a Y2K problem. But like many other places, very little sign of any Y2K problems. Trains will be stopped for an hour or so in France and in other European countries just to make sure, but we've seen absolutely nothing. The Channel trains underneath the English Channel will run all night, but without passengers. They're going to check the system, but they don't expect to have any difficulties either, Peter.
They sound like they're checking out some of the fireworks in the background there. Just one last question briefly. Security, much of an issue there tonight?
Well, of course, France has got a huge security force on duty and on alert. There haven't been any specific terrorist threats or concerns or worries. You seem to be having more trouble in Canada with the Algerian connection than the French do these days, Peter.
And there's an irony in that, isn't there? Paul Workman reporting to us tonight from Paris, where they're a little more than half an hour away from the arrival of the year 2000. We'll be going back to Paris live for those celebrations. But we also asked Paul, as we'd asked Neil, to think back and reflect on the past 100 years for Europe and for France, and to file us a report. Here's Paul Workman's report on that.
What do Europeans see as they gaze out at the horizon, panning their eyes over the centuries, pausing wistfully, wishfully, in front of their great symbols and monuments? Dominique Moissy, French writer and political scientist, sees a continent that committed suicide.
We committed suicide, and then by miracle we were reborn. So in some ways, the 20th century for Europe is the encounter between Auschwitz on the one hand and Jean Monnet on the other. The forces of darkness and the forces of light, and all combined in a very short span of time.
Auschwitz, Dachau, Treblinka, notorious names that haunt Europe's past, and more so, its future. Hitler's reign of insanity is never very far from the surface here. The shame of the Holocaust never beyond European eyes.
The strength of Auschwitz is the fact that the most civilized country of Europe, the land of Goethe and Beethoven, was at the origin of Auschwitz. So it's a warning. It means that everyone today or yesterday can fall prey to the forces of extremism if certain conditions are met.
There's a poignant sense of irony to this particular moment, this particular period in European history. But you have to surf back through 1,000 years of war and conquest to really appreciate it.
In 1003, Germany laid siege to Poland, one of the first wars of a new millennium. And on it went. 1,000 years of aggression, domination, and shifting borders. And after all the fighting, where is Europe at the end of the 20th century? It's a continent that has a single currency, a common market, and practically no borders at all. That's the vision of Jean Monnet and the other fathers of post-war Europe.
This is the first time we see the new boundaries in Europe. Boundaries not only in geographic terms, but in terms of a project. We have a common project which transcends the fact that we don't know exactly our geography. We don't know where we end, but we know what we want to do.
"800 years ago, the French were building the great cathedral at Chartres, one of the world's masterpieces of architecture, a symbol of the wealth and power of European society. Oh, how the symbols have changed. The church is no longer supreme. The threat in Europe is no longer war. It's Mickey Mouse. 2,000 years after the Romans conquered Europe and ruled the world, there's a new empire, Dominique Moissy.
If, by contrast, we look at the United States today, in reference with, let's say, the Roman Empire, they are just an emerging empire. And we have to face the reality of a long superiority of the United States. This is not something we welcome too much in Europe, of course.
I love the Americans, she says, and that's always been Europe's hang-up, to love or hate, to welcome or reject, to admire or fear. But it doesn't really make any difference anyway, because the empire has already landed.
And so a tragic century comes to an end, with McDonald's and Disney transplanted on the grand avenues of Paris,
with Europe reborn, and with war more of a memory than a threat. It seems that after a millennium of plotting battles and counting victories, Western Europeans have finally exhausted their capacity for shedding blood and conquering their neighbors. I'm Paul Workman in Paris.
Paul Workman's sense of Western Europe and what it's faced over the last 100 years, what it's thinking about as it turns the clock into the new millennium. And so much of Western Europe about to do that very thing, turning the clock. Just a hint of what's to come in our next half hour. We'll be going live, underlining live, to France, Germany, Italy. We'll see the Pope, Denmark, Holland, Sweden, Spain, and much, much more. That's all coming up in the next half hour as the new millennium hits the year 2000 through much of Western Europe. We'll be right back on 2000 Today, right after this. And welcome back to the atrium of the Broadcast Center here in Toronto, our continuing coverage of 2000 Today. The millennium now just about 25 minutes away through much of Western Europe. We're going back to Paris in about 4 minutes' time for the spectacular celebrations that are expected around the Eiffel Tower. Keeping in mind, as Paul Workman told us, been some terrible storms with much damage through much of Europe, especially in France in the past few days, so it's dampened the spirit somewhat, but celebrations expected to start there in about 4 minutes' time. So we've got 4 minutes. What could we do with that? I know what we can do with that. We can check in on how our internet poll has been going. We've been telling you about it all day. Rex Murphy has been covering it, and I'm going to go over, take a short walk over, because I need to stretch my legs every once in a while. It's a long day. We want to talk to Rex and see what you've been saying about the important events, the important people of this century. And here he is, the one and only.
Welcome, sir, to the only 19th century ornament on a 21st century set. And I'm not talking about the desk.
This desk is probably worth more than that computer.
Yeah, probably is. And also, it's supporting the great storm of voting that's going on here. This is more popular than most federal elections.
Tell us about it.
Well, so far, there's a number of interesting little shifts. Since this morning, for example, Wayne and Schuster. You remember the old song? Well, they do have a booster. Wayne and Schuster has leaped up to the top, which indicates that traditional comedy is doing pretty well. The Air Farce, no stranger to this building, is second. SCTV comes in third. And John Candy, we expected that he'd have a bit of a rise there. He's coming up fourth, and this hour has 22 minutes.
Should give a plug to the Air Farce. They're coming up with their traditional New Year's Eve special in 2 hours and 20 minutes
We expect at that point that these numbers will probably change. They probably get the right
planning on their
They'll
part.
probably get the right in that I'm trying for somebody else.
Right.
The politicians, you know, I think there's no real change there. Pierre Trudeau remains, even in a scattered poll done on a fierce day like this. Pierre Trudeau is so far out in front. He's 58%. The next two are Tommy Douglas of Sacred Memory and William Lyon Mackenzie King. Now, the only thing about King's 11 percentage points here, we're not certain how King is getting his votes in here, and knowing his past, this
he could use any number of ways. I don't see your guy on the board there.
The write-in in Smallwood is continuing apace.
Okay.
Actually, I'll skip to one other one here because it's fairly interesting. Gordon Lightfoot has leaped to the top of the page. The Lightfoot, they have serious fans, so he's up to 18%. Another very interesting one, Margaret Lawrence has vaulted over Lucy Maud Montgomery. This is good news for modern literature. And Marshall McLuhan, it's kind of confusion of categories. He does fairly well towards the bottom of the list there. Farley Mode is in the center. The big event remains at this stage, and I don't think that's changing at all, World War II. And one other particular highlight, Gretzky is now followed by Kurt Browning, who was hardly there at all this morning. So there are some shifts, and people can keep voting. My write-in is continuing. Some things we've been noticing, by the way, people who are not showing up. I'll get into that probably on a later hit.
Okay, the one thing I noticed, and you saw it, you know, with the Wayne and Schuster category, but also still reflecting some of the comedians of this day and age, there must be a good cross-section of ages represented in this.
That actually is a surprising point. We had to guess, the intuition, when you're doing an internet kind of vote or poll, therefore those who are most connected to that stuff, you assume are going to be the junior parts of the population. But traditional elements, Lucy Maud Montgomery, Marshall McLuhan to be in there, that means that people on the whole spectrum of age, the computer is becoming a tool, and playing around with emails is becoming a tool for everybody.
All right, Rex Murphy at our internet desk tonight. If you want to take part in all of these votes, we've got all evening, we've got all night, www.cbc.ca. Don't be shy. Let's hear your vote. Make it count tonight on the CBC Internet poll. Now, we're going to go to France, as promised. You know that. You recognize that. The Eiffel Tower. They've been counting back to this moment for a long time. The special numbers there on the huge Eiffel Tower. The Arc de Triomphe down there in the end of the Champs-Élysées. The City of Lights, as it's known, will be certainly the City of Lights tonight, as added to the natural light. We have two guests who suddenly joined us on our program. We have no idea who they were, but we appreciate hearing their or seeing their commentary. Unfortunately, weren't able to hear it. This, I imagine, was some of the local French broadcasters. We're going to be flipping back around and back and forth through Europe as we lead up to the midnight moment in Western Europe. But this is the scene in Paris as they're getting ready. Switching from Paris to another one of the great European cities, Amsterdam, Holland. We've got something going here in the Dam Square in central Amsterdam. This is right in front of the Royal Palace in Amsterdam. There are a number of different groups who we're told, are going to be playing tonight, so you're going to have to guess which one this might be. The Postmen, a crossover rap reggae group. I don't think that's this one. The Gospel Train, something tells me it's not that one. Bloff, a Dutch language pop group, maybe. Or Willeke Alberti, Holland's most favorite female singer for 40 years. Well, I think it's going to be a combination of all. So why don't we have a watch and a listen live from Amsterdam, Holland.
It's my baby calling, says I need you here. When she gets lonely and the longing gets too much, she sends a cable coming in from above. Don't need no more at all. He got a man that's gone with love. He got a man, yeah. Read our love. Okay, baby. Hey, man.
Well, from Amsterdam, where they certainly know how to party, to Berlin, Germany. A huge concert and light show in Berlin, right at the Brandenburg Gate. A symbol of German reunification. Remember standing there just over 10 years ago when the wall came down. That incredible weekend in November of 1989. How it's changed in a short decade, and what 100 years it's been for Germany. Starting the century as one of the most powerful countries on earth, the loser in two huge and costly world wars. Ending the century, once again united, once again powerful, both economically, in all manners. And quite a night planned in Germany tonight. The huge light show in Berlin. 13 minutes away from the year 2000 arriving in the great capitals of Western Europe. And we'll be back to Germany to witness that moment, but we're going to take another peek into the streets of Stockholm, Sweden. Street party here. A huge bottle of champagne, a 26-meter high bottle of champagne, is out there in the harbor. It's immersed cascading water 150 meters into the air, lighting the Swedish Millennium Star, a helium balloon in the shape of a giant reflecting disco mirror ball. And from Spain, or from Sweden to Spain, we're in Madrid, 13 minutes to go before the year 2000. This is in the Puerta del Sol in Madrid. They'll be ringing bells at midnight, along with the traditional fireworks and other celebrations. Huge crowd in the square in Spain. From Spain, in just a few seconds, we're going to Italy, to St. Peter's Square, where the Pope will be appearing, not for another 10 or 15 minutes. And will be giving his blessing to the world. This is the scene in Rome, in Italy. Celebrations that are taking place just beneath the apartment, the Pope's apartment in the Vatican. Thousands, tens of thousands. There they are. They just refinished the front of the St. Peter's. There's the spectacular scene in the courtyard in front of the Vatican.
Il tradizionale conto alla rovescio che naturalmente faremo tutti quanti e potremo seguirlo anche con
couple
I
of
numeri
the local Italian
sugli schermi.
hosts for the evening, the huge outdoor event in Rome. And as we said, we're expecting to see the Pope in the moments after midnight. He'll be coming out to give his blessing to the world and his wishes for the new millennium. Timing could be a little unpredictable on that. We'll be watching for that closely. And it's still unclear whether the Pope will just be giving his blessing in Latin, or as he does on occasion, speak in many other languages as well. They say he's fluent in at least a couple of dozen languages, including, as we know from his visits to Canada, in English. So a huge stage set up in St. Peter's Square.
11 minuti. Per noi la mezzanotte sarà quando il Papa.
Well, from Rome, where we will be coming back, to Oslo, Norway. Cannons being fired in Norway. The royal family is quickly back. That wasn't Norway. This is back to London, where they're still an hour away, more than an hour away from the arrival of the new year. However, the Queen has arrived at yet another spot. And because the BBC is one of the major partners in this consortium, we wouldn't want to miss a moment of this. The Queen stepping ashore from a brief ride after her ride down the River Thames, being greeted by the various dignitaries. Prague, Czechoslovakia. A 32-year-old violin virtuoso, Yaroslav Yevchenyin. He's made a lot of recordings for radio, television, and record companies. Let's listen in. Live from Prague, Czechoslovakia. Prague in the Czech Republic. Václav Havel in the crowd in the Czech Republic. Less than 10 minutes now. Sound of a violin virtuoso in Prague, the Czech Republic. We switch to Poland, Warsaw. Another huge stage show. Light and music. This one in Warsaw. Keep in mind all these pictures now leading up to midnight live from each one of these different European capitals. Spectacular looking set this is for the backdrop in Poland. Set up like a huge cake. Those candles all representing fireworks installations. They're going to explode just as if they were candles on a cake. Coming up in just about 10 minutes time. About 5 minutes now to midnight. And we're going to leave Warsaw, Poland, and head back now. Let's go for France. Less than 5 minutes now until midnight in much of Europe. From France to Sweden. We're just going to flip back and forth here. All of this happening live. France to Sweden, where the concert continues. From Sweden to Austria, the spectacular city of Vienna. The fireworks starting 4 minutes early there. Great concert in Amsterdam, right downtown, right in the square in front of the Royal Palace. Imagine, John Lennon's hit song. Latest update from England, by the way, on George Harrison. Things progressing well for the former Beatle, who was attacked yesterday. Madrid, Spain, 3.5 minutes to go. Reflections of a giant dome on the palace in Madrid. All eyes focused on the clock with just over 3 minutes to go. Budapest, Hungary. Ready to flip those numbers over from 1999. to 2000. Back to Prague in the Czech Republic. Wenceslas Square in Prague. That was a little of the early celebration here in the atrium, that noise.
I fellesskap på en offentlig plass.
Back to Oslo, Norway.
Felles for oss at vi I årene som kommer
I'm told the king is in the attendance in the crowd here in Oslo. They're about to sing the national anthem leading up to the midnight moment. The Brandenburg Gate in Berlin. Well, they talk about a sea of humanity. You're witnessing it tonight as we just roll from one European capital to another. To Copenhagen in Denmark. There's been so much talk, especially in North America, about the nervousness of going outdoors on a night like this. We're sure not seeing it across Europe. These few moments as we take live glimpses inside the capitals of the great continent of Europe. We're witnessing tens of thousands, millions of people on the street, gathering in their traditional squares in front of their palaces, government centers, city halls, and the Vatican in Rome. The moments leading up to the turning of the clock. The move from 1999 to 2000 in Paris. Look at this. A spectacular City of Lights begins its incredible fireworks display. Less than a half a minute left in a century that has wreaked so much cause, concern, and havoc across Europe. The 1900s about to be relegated to the history books. And the year 2000, a new century and a new millennium to begin. Let's watch and listen. I tell you, on a day when we're getting used to seeing fireworks displays, and sometimes they all start to look the same, nothing looks like this one in Paris. This is quite amazing. Wow. To Rome, the Pope, live from the Vatican, his blessing to the world. Waving to the thousands of those who've gathered in St. Peter's Square in Rome. We'll be back to Rome. Berlin, the moment has arrived. Germans who've mourned and celebrated so much change over the last 100 years, tonight celebrate the arrival of the new millennium. to Prague in the Czech Republic. This is what it looked like at the moment the clock ticked over to midnight. And the party never stopped in Amsterdam, not for a moment. Yep, the Dutch know how to party, and they brought the party with them, it appears, into the square in front of the Royal Palace. To Warsaw, the moment of the century and the millennium clicked over. The fireworks coming out of that enormous set, building transformed to look like a birthday cake. What a job they've done. Vienna. This once again a tape delay. Just coming up on the moment of the midnight striking, the final countdown. And to Copenhagen, Denmark, the town clock. This is what it looked like just a few moments ago as the bells started to toll a new year, a new century, the year 2000. Switzerland, Geneva, fabulous city, the shores of Lake Geneva. Huge crowd. This was their moment in the seconds after midnight. You see their giant clock counting down. Back to Oslo. I believe their plan at the moment the new year was to be singing their national anthem. While obviously watching a lot of fireworks. In Spain, the party had been building for hours and took off at the stroke of midnight. Looks like the Ode to Joy in the background there. Now to Stockholm.
Kära vänner, gott nytt år! Happy New Year! And skål!
A toast to the new year. Amazing past 20 minutes this has been as we've just hopscotched across Europe. Lifetimes of memories from millions of people we've seen witness in person these incredible moments. Let's go back to Rome now, the Pope.
Sul quadrante della storia Sul quadrante della storia scocca un'ora importante. Inizia in questo momento l'anno 2000. L'anno che ci introduce in un nuovo millennio. Per i credenti è l'anno del grande giubileo. Buon anno a tutti voi. Buon anno a tutti voi, uomini e donne di ogni parte della terra. Nel varcare la soglia del nuovo anno mi piacerebbe bussare alla porta delle vostre case per recare a ciascuno il mio augurio cordiale. Buon anno a tutti nella luce che da Betlemme si irradia sull'intero universo. Vi auguro un anno ricco di pace, la pace annunziata dagli angeli nella notte santa, la pace di Cristo che per amore si è fatto fratello di ogni essere umano. Vi auguro un anno sereno e felice. Vi accompagni la certezza che Dio ci ama. Oggi, come 2000 anni or sono, Cristo viene ad orientare con il suo Vangelo di salvezza i passi incerti e titubanti dei popoli e delle nazioni verso un futuro di autentica speranza. A Lui chiedo di benedire questo momento di festa e di voti augurali, perché sia avvio promettente di un nuovo millennio ricco di gioia e di pace. Entriamo nell'anno 2000 con lo sguardo fisso al mistero dell'incarnazione. Cristo ieri, oggi e sempre. A Lui appartengono il tempo e i secoli. A Lui la gloria e il potere per tutti i secoli in eterno. Amen. Sit nomen Domini benedictum.
Ex hoc et usque in saeculum.
Aiutorium nostrum in nomine Domini,
qui fecit caelum et terra.
benedicat vos omnipotens Deus, Pater et Filius et Spiritus Sanctus.
Amen.
Reaction of the tens of thousands gathered in St. Peter's Square in the Vatican as the Pope gives his millennium message of peace to the crowd and to the world. You know, he's dubbed the year 2000 the Great Jubilee to mark the third millennium of Christianity. We know his health has been in poor shape for most of the past 10 years, and it's in his determination, he's talked of it at times in the last few years, that he was going to see the dawning of the new millennium, without question. And he has, as midnight strikes in Rome. He's delivered his traditional blessing from a balcony window of the Apostolic Palace overlooking St. Peter's. The first non-Italian pope for 456 years. A man who's had such an impact, not only on the Roman Catholic Church, but on the world in these past 20 years. His visits back to his homeland of Poland in the early 80s helped lead the struggle for the Solidarity movement and the movement away from communism through parts of Eastern Europe. From the Vatican back to Paris, this is live. The celebrations continue. You saw those spectacular moments from the Eiffel Tower. Well, the party continues along the Champs-Élysées. I mean, it's Paris. It's only 12:15. On a normal night, it's busy. So you can imagine how much fun they're going to be having here for a while. "11 giant Ferris wheels have been brought along the Champs-Élysées this evening. Various huge floats for a sound and light show. Well, what a way to start the new millennium in Austria with a beautiful waltz. Street waltzing in Vienna. This is live, the post-midnight music and dancing, including waltzing at both outside the St. Stephen's Place and at the Mayor's House Square. From Vienna back to Berlin, where the fireworks continue. Fireworks, a light and laser show at the Brandenburg Gate. This is just the finale, actually, the last quarter hour of celebrations in Berlin. Back to Paris. Now, either he's lost his seat or he's performing some special acrobatic feat, climbing up the side of this Ferris wheel. Let's assume it's the latter. Leaving France, going to somewhere where there's snow. Northern Sweden. Stockholm? Oh, they're telling us now this is Denmark, where the party continues. Interesting to see the parties that are dominated by the young. They've got a lot more staying power. Things are starting to slow down already in some of the European capitals. But not here in Denmark, where the party keeps going well past midnight. Just warming up from the look of this crowd. Oh boy, some music never dies, especially in Amsterdam. Yes, Happy New Year to you as well. All right, this is way north in Sweden. This is north of the Arctic Circle. In an ice amphitheater. You've probably seen that commercial on television, a certain car company bragging about how it drives to an ice hotel in northern Sweden. Well, this is an ice amphitheater where a special presentation underway to celebrate the new year and the new millennium. They sound great and they look cold. North Cape in Norway, the furthest point north in Europe where we've got our cameras, where people are celebrating the arrival of the year 2000. Remember, in the North Cape in Norway, they're used to the dark. Hasn't been light there since November 20th. Like so many parts of the Canadian Arctic, they're in total darkness now, or at least another north. This is live from the North Cape in Norway.
Buon millennio a tutti quanti.
Happy New Year.
Gott Neujahr.
Well, I don't think I can ever remember another half hour like that. We have witnessed some spectacular moments across most of Western Europe, from the North Cape of Norway to Paris, Copenhagen, Berlin, Rome, seeing the Pope's blessing to the world. So much more to come in this night. We've got another dozen hours of celebrations, and yet we haven't even started to celebrate the arrival of the new millennium on our shores, still about 4 hours away from the arrival in Newfoundland. We're going to take a short break, and then we've got lots more to come. Stay with us here on 2000 Today. And welcome back to the Broadcast Center here in Toronto. Our continuing coverage of the arrival of the new millennium across the world continues. Not to reach our shores for another 4 hours when it hits Newfoundland first. Coming up, though, in this hour, the next top of the clock, 35 minutes away, the millennium arrives in Britain. You saw those amazing pictures from Paris and the other European capitals. Well, the British say, you ain't seen nothing yet. You're not going to top our show that's coming up 35 minutes live from London and various other places across the United Kingdom. We're looking forward to showing you that, but we've got lots to tell you about before then. We're going quickly now to the birthplace of our Confederation, to Charlottetown, where Jonathan Torrance is standing by, and the crowd is starting to build there in Province House.
That's right, Peter. We might be small, but we're mighty, right, gang? Mighty loud. The tension is building. The Victorian carolers are here. Just a reminder that we have strong ties to Britain here in Canada, from dental work to style of dress. And also, it was in fact Britain who suggested that Canada take ownership of its own country and become a country by itself. I would just like to say, Peter, I'm glad that Gordon Lightfoot is at the top of Rex Murphy's current poll in terms of musicians. But where's Stompin' Tom Connors, right, Islanders? Very good question, very valid artist, and this is just a reminder, as the millennium sets in here, that this is an event for all ages. Peter?
It sure is. And listen, you tell them to get on the internet and start voting for Stompin' Tom, because you're right, he should be in that
It's
group
hard
as
with
well.
17,000 people expected down here to get people home to their computers, but we will try.
You didn't bring that portable one we gave you to take out there? Jonathan Torrance will be with us all evening, and especially in about 4.5 hours from now.
Absolutely.
When the year 2000 strikes through the Maritimes, and especially right there in Charlottetown. We'll be back to you, Jonathan. Good to talk to you again. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye. We'll see you soon.
We've got a very special guest now. Joining us from Rideau Hall, the Governor-General, Adrienne Clarkson. Governor-General, wonderful of you to join us. Tell us your thoughts on the country as it reaches the end of one century and borders about to begin a new millennium.
Peter, I think it's a wonderful occasion for us to reflect not only on what we've been, but on what we can become as a country. And I think that one of the chords I struck with Canadians when I had my installation in October was that I talked about Canada as a forgiving country. And I think Canada is a forgiving country. It's forgiven people for their pasts. They can come here and create a new life. And we've created a country that's exciting and that's dynamic and that has a sense of history because of it. So I'm hoping that we can look back on that and look into the future and say, that's what we have been. Now see what we can become. And if we take that into consideration, we're going to become really a great country. Not a great country in the sense of hugeness or dominance or all those other kind of concepts of power, but a country that understands, a country that has compassion, a country that understands people's needs, that takes care of the world as well as it takes care of its own.
You know, I'm sure that you, along with so many other Canadians, will have your own personal moments of celebration as midnight comes through the nation's capital. But if there's one thought that you will be having as the clock strikes midnight, and one thought you think Canadians should be having as well as their personal celebrations, what would that be, do you think?
I think it would be to always think of the needs of others, because so many of us are fortunate in having every single of our needs met as soon as we have them. And if we can think of the needs of others and how we can meet them as quickly as possible, that I think would be the thought we should have at midnight. We should think of those who are not warm, who are not outside by choice. We should think of those who really share our world and our life with us and who are part of us.
You've been in the position of Governor-General now for a number of months. What has surprised you most about that position?
Well, I guess one of the things that's been most interesting to me, and I traveled all over the country, as you know, Peter, as you did as a journalist for television, for CBC. One of the things that's really surprised me is how people come and tell you what is on their minds, how Canadians open up to tell the Governor-General what concerns them, what are their deepest interests, what they think the country should be like, what they hope the country will be like. And that's the most rewarding thing that I've felt so far, and also the feeling that perhaps by hearing these things and understanding them and passing them on, one can really affect some change.
What have you learned about the country that you didn't already know?
Well, I guess I've just reinforced a lot of things. I've reinforced the fact that it is a very large country, that people are divided by their geography often, and that they don't understand that it could unite us if we understand that it is as big as it is, and it is as diverse as it is, and that we just recognize what we are. We're a northern country, and that's why I love seeing those images of Sweden, because I think we are a northern country, and we must rejoice in that, and not say when it's snowing, it's bad weather. When it's snowing, it's great weather.
Yes, you know, we could use a little snow right around now, especially down in this part of Ontario where it's still pretty green.
Well, we're luckier here in Ottawa. It's beautiful.
Oh, that's great. Now, when we started planning this show many, many months ago, at the beginning of 1999, there was a spot in it for you. It wasn't quite in this role, but we're sure glad that you joined us again here on the CBC.
Well, I'm glad you asked me to take a spot in it, because I was looking forward to the other spot, Peter.
Governor-General Adrienne Clarkson joining us from Rideau Hall in Ottawa. Enjoy the evening and enjoy the new year, the new millennium.
And a happy new year to you, Peter. You're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you very much. Our coverage continues now as we switch from Ottawa to the smiling face of Colleen Jones in Halifax. Now, what are you up to tonight?
I was going to say good morning because I'm so used to working in the morning. First of all, Peter, I have to thank you for asking me out on New Year's Eve. It's the first date I've actually had in my life. And so this is a date you might not have known. I have to introduce you to Ian Janes.
Hello.
He is, you're saying hello to Peter Mansbridge. He's coming on board the big train with us. We're at the train station, Peter, just outside of Pier 21, where so many new Canadians came over the last century, and then they would come and take these trains, and head off to other parts of the country. And what it is, it's a Via Millennium train. It's a party train, but it's like a kitchen party, isn't it, on board a train?
I guess you could say that. Yeah.
Kind of typical. You're going to play. We're going to have a really good time. And there's about 300 people involved in it. Many, many different cars, all with a different theme. For example, if disco were your thing, you could go on the disco trains. They've got a kiddie train and all kinds of different themes. I'm on with Ian, though, because he's going to be singing some fabulous blues. He, by the way, Maclean's Magazine just named him as one of the top 100 people to watch. So we're really looking forward to it. So we take the train and we head off to Truro, and then we come back and we have the champagne at midnight and all of that sort of stuff. People love this idea, though, because of the romance of the train. I mean, a lot of people looked at it as a way to... The railway, of course, connected the country over 100 years ago, and this is a chance to celebrate that and have a good time all at the same time, and welcome in the year 2000.
You're amazing. You really are. You promise you are going to let Ian sing a little later on, right?
Ian, he says, am I going to promise to let you sing? Of course, and I'm singing harmony.
We didn't discuss this. Is that in the contract?
No, it's not. You're just singing on your own. Fear not. I'm shaking martinis, though. I'm doing the martini work.
You've got the code for it.
I've got the code. We're doing the martinis, not to worry. And now I've always wanted to do this, too, when you go all aboard. I'm also driving the train. Did I tell you that?
Uh-oh.
No, I missed that part.
Is that in the contract?
Anyhow, no, it's not in the contract. But it's going to be a lovely time. About 20 cars in all, and we're on the big car right here.
Okay,
Time
well, look,
to get on board, Ian.
We're going to have to let you get on board. Do that all
I will.
aboard.
Ian's
Let's hear you do
on
it.
the wrong car.
Hurry up.
Over here. All right. Well,
I don't know.
by the way,
Maybe
Peter,
he got
I
on the
forgot to tell
right
you.
car.
Yeah, no, but you're going to be joining us live on the train, too.
We
which
are.
Is a bit of
Go,
satellite
get on the train.
technology. I'm
We
on.
gotta
They're
go.
leaving without me. Okay, see you, Peter.
Okay, Colleen Jones and Ian Janes getting on the train in Halifax, and we'll be talking to them once more. Now, a reminder, the internet address that we have, www.cbc.ca. We want to hear your votes for Canadians of the Century in all kinds of different categories. You've heard throughout the day, Rex Murphy's been talking about it, greatest Canadian, best musician, best comedian, best event of the century, Canadian event. We want to hear your thoughts. Our internet site has been jammed all day. People are still getting in, but we've had more hits on our internet site today. We had by 9 o'clock this morning than we'd ever had in a full day before. So keep those votes coming in. We're tabulating the results, and Rex will be updating them throughout the day. Coming up in this next 26 minutes, as we've got lots to see in preparation for midnight striking, the year 2000 arriving in the United Kingdom. We're going to have live performances from Simply Red, Brian Ferry, Annie Lennox, the London Symphony Orchestra, and Robin Williams. You don't want to miss any of that. We'll be right back here on 2000 Today. And welcome back to our Millennium coverage, live from the atrium here in the Broadcast Centre in Toronto. We've been on the air since 4:30 this morning, Toronto time. That's a little more than 14 hours. You've seen more than half of the world welcome the new millennium. You're about to see in 21 minutes' time London and England and the rest of the United Kingdom welcome the new year, the new millennium, the new century, the year 2000. Pick your topic. Any one of those fits now. An exciting moment. And in England right now, in London, on top of Canada House, Anne Macmillan is our correspondent, and she's been witnessing the day's events. You know, Anne, they said in Paris that was quite something we watched outside the Eiffel Tower and across the Champs-Élysées, the Arc de Triomphe. And the French say nobody can beat that. The British think they can?
You ain't seen nothing yet, Peter. That's what the British are saying, and I hope they're right, because they have got the most amazing, spectacular plan. The minute Big Ben, the famous clock that towers over the Parliament building, strikes its first gong, 200 candles are going to be lit on barges on the Thames, and by the time the 12 gongs have gone, 46 seconds later, the entire Thames is going to be a river on fire. Not the entire Thames, 5 kilometers of the Thames, but it's going to be quite sensational. It's going to rise up to 20 meters. And we're told that you could see it from outer space if anybody happens to be looking down.
Okay,
so
Anne, I got to cut you off right there because we don't want to miss a moment of Annie Lennox's concert just beginning at the Royal Naval College in Britain. inside the new Millennium Dome in London. We switch from the Eurythmics concert to this. We'll be switching back and forth from a number of concerts in London as the countdown continues there. Just 15 minutes to midnight in London. This is the huge structure that was built just for this very occasion, the dawning of the new millennium. So the BBC flipping back and forth trying to get all the concerts. Annie Lennox and the Eurythmics were about 20 minutes outside of London at the University of Greenwich. Well, a little All You Need Is Love, a little Yellow Submarine, some of the Beatles' great hits. The Millennium Dome, the London Symphony Orchestra, and wish we could tell you who all the other singers were there, but unfortunately they were having a few mic problems. But hey, a concert like that, you need the world's greatest audio person. But hey, he's here with us tonight. Howard Bagley is in the booth here in Toronto, handling our broadcast. 11 minutes away from midnight in London. The Queen in her place, Prime Minister Tony Blair. This is a remarkable structure, this Millennium Dome. As the latest act to perform here with the London Symphony Orchestra, with the Queen and Prince Philip in attendance, Prime Minister Tony Blair taking part in the countdown, less than 10 minutes now. That seemed to break the Queen's stern look. Amazement. Prime Minister Blair. A dramatic new composition now, A New Beginning, will be performed by a cast of 400. live from London, England. Less than a minute now until the year 2000 reaches the shores of Great Britain. And in the Millennium Dome, with the Queen and the Prime Minister and thousands of others in attendance, more than 1 million lining the Thames River, the final 30 seconds of the 1900s. Sounding out its warning of the approaching moment. When the first major gong goes, it will strike 12 midnight. And a 4-mile stretch of the River Thames will erupt in a 200-foot high flame. Here it goes. Millennium arrives with a spectacular fireworks display in the middle of London, stretching along the Thames River. Thames, of course, winds its way through the very centre of the heart of London. There's Westminster, the Houses of Parliament there in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. There's a shot from the other side of the Thames of the same building. Lasers and fireworks. It's the Millennium Ferris wheel there you just caught a glimpse of on the other side of the Thames River. And the National Beacon in the middle of the Thames River. The British like to think that because they're the home of Greenwich Mean Time, that really, very technically, the new millennium really starts there. Well, it's certainly starting there with a bang in London tonight. They're saying now that upwards of 2 million just along the Thames, lining the Thames on either side to watch this display. But it's the kind of view surely you can see anywhere in London, in downtown London anyway right now. A spectacular sight. If you were with us an hour ago, you saw that spectacular sight in Paris, the Eiffel Tower. Which was better? Hard to judge. They're both pretty spectacular. Well, also in the same time zone, in Iceland. Look at this in Reykjavik. Not a bad show here, too. quite something in Iceland. Just a wonderful display here as well. I mean, we've seen a lot of fireworks over the last 14 or 15 hours, and as we said when we were seeing Paris, sometimes you get sort of lulled into thinking they all look the same, and at times they do, but these have been spectacular through Europe, and now Britain and Iceland. The beauty of this display, unlike some of the others, this is a coordinated effort, both the government ones and private fireworks displays going at the same time in Iceland. Now to Lisbon, Portugal, also on the same time zone as Britain and Iceland. This is tape delay. This is what it looked like just moments ago when the clock struck midnight, 5 minutes ago. Huge outdoor party in the middle of Lisbon. You can hear all the ships in the harbor sounding their horns. Imagine if you'd been flying over Europe in the last hour. Now, not too many planes were up there in the last hour with the concerns about Y2K. But my gosh, if you had been, it would have been quite the sight from the air. Much of the world now into the year 2000. Because after this time zone, going into a bit of a black hole as the time zones cross the North Atlantic, the South Atlantic, heading towards North and South America. And, of course, to Canada. But let's go back from Lisbon, Portugal. We go back into the heart of London, where the fireworks continue. That wall of flame along the Thames River. Take a circuit around British Isles now. We're going to look at London for a bit, but we're also going to visit Dublin, Edinburgh, you almost shudder to make the comparison, but it's got to be nearly 60 years since the sky over London has looked like this. Of course, in a much more difficult and far from a ceremonial moment in the middle of the Blitz. But here they celebrate in big fashion. We're in Dublin now.
Welcome Dublin with the African sound system in the house. Let's go. Yeah.
And a performance on stage in Dublin as the clock ticked over to midnight. This is in Dublin's historic Merrion Square, a huge free concert. This band's called the Afro-Celt Sound System. They're going to perform Whirly Reel 2. The story of the epic struggle between good and evil. Let's watch in Dublin, Ireland. On a night of amazing performances through the capitals of Europe, the United Kingdom, Iceland, yet another one here in Dublin, Ireland. And we'll lose our feed from Dublin, but it's been well worth the moment. New Millennium has arrived in Ireland as well, as it has in London, where Anne McMillan is standing by once again. Anne, you promised quite a show along the Thames, and it sure was.
What a spectacular way to see in a new millennium. And Peter, I feel very privileged, not just because I'm still watching this fantastic fireworks display, but because I can now greet you from the 21st century. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you. We're looking forward to it. It's going to creep its way across the Atlantic, as you know, and we'll be getting ready for about 3 hours from now when it hits Newfoundland. Now tell us, Anne, we got to clean up a couple of business details. Two things, security and Y2K. It's after midnight. All the lights seem to be on in downtown London, no doubt about that. Have you heard of any problems as a result of the Y2K scare?
Not at all yet, but I think probably the fireworks are making so much noise that anybody who does have a problem isn't being heard. But security so far has been fabulous, and the police are now saying that there are probably 2.5 million people in central London. No problems yet, but there are enormous crowds. I don't know if you can see behind me because it's a bit dark, but the whole of Trafalgar Square is absolutely full. So once these fireworks are over, it's not quite clear where all these people are going to go. So I think that this is a problem. There's a bit of a crowd control problem, but so far people are just having the greatest time.
Well, we want you to have a great time too, Anne. You've been terrific for us all these past 14 hours as you've led us up to midnight in Britain. Why don't you now go and enjoy a little bit of it yourself? Thanks for talking with us, Anne.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
have a
bye-bye.
great New Year's.
Anne
Bye.
McMillan joining us live from London on top of Canada House, the Canadian Embassy building, located right in Trafalgar Square. It's an incredible place to be positioned, and we're allowing our friends, good friends at the BBC, to use that location as well tonight to shoot some of their spectacular pictures of the celebrations that are taking place in London. Now, we've got 45 minutes left in our coverage before we're going to break away for, you know, the annual New Year's Eve special by the Royal Canadian Air Force. Supposed to be a great one this year, as always. Then we'll be coming back live here with our continuing coverage of the Millennium. You know that it's now crossing the North Atlantic, approaching our shores, still a little more than 3 hours away before it hits Newfoundland, 3 hours 45 minutes for the rest of Atlantic Canada, and then marches across the country. We're set up, we're ready to go here on locations from coast to coast to coast. You don't want to miss a moment of it all. Canada 2000 today. It continues in just a moment. All right, we're going to take a break now for a moment and look at some of today's other top stories. 8 days of horror are over now for 155 hostages held for ransom on a hijacked jet in Afghanistan. In the end, the hijackers did get what they wanted, the release of 3 other Muslim militants. And the hostages got what they desperately wanted, their freedom. David Common reports from the final stop on a long and terrifying trip.
This was the moment the hostages and the relatives were waiting for, the release of the passengers from the hijacked Indian Airlines jet. After 8 days of negotiations that seemed stalled, the breakthrough came this morning. India's foreign minister flew to Kandahar, bringing with him 3 Kashmiri militants whose release was demanded by the hijackers. Shortly after their arrival, the hijackers left the plane. Taliban soldiers hustled the hijackers out of the airport and ordered them out of the country. The 155 passengers were taken from the plane for a quick medical checkup before being flown to New Delhi, where they received an emotional welcome.
We have lived through a living hell. We saw death at 8 times. We not only suffered misery, we suffered psychological warfare by the terrorists.
Canadian diplomats met with Shirley Macklin, the only Canadian on board the hijacked jet. It's not clear where the hijackers will go now. Taliban officials are reported to be following the group to make sure they leave Afghanistan. That country borders on 5 others, including Pakistan and Iran. But the Red Cross is apparently offered to take the hijackers to the disputed Himalayan territory of Kashmir, if that's where they want to go. David Common, CBC News, New Delhi.
A news bombshell from Boris Yeltsin today. He quit as president of Russia. The new man in charge is Prime Minister Vladimir Putin. Elizabeth Palmer reports.
The president's New Year message was a shock. I am resigning, said Yeltsin, adding that a new millennium demanded new politicians. The president took an uncharacteristically humble tone. I am asking your forgiveness that I did not live up to your hopes and expectations, he said. Yeltsin's failing health and increasingly erratic behavior no doubt influenced his decision to resign on this symbolic occasion. But most analysts believe the move was largely designed to give Prime Minister Vladimir Putin the edge as Yeltsin's successor. Putin is riding high in the polls after fronting the Kremlin's hard line on Russia's Chechen offensive. It's widely believed that Putin won Yeltsin's blessing as his successor by agreeing not to pursue a criminal investigation of Yeltsin and his inner circle in the future. On the street, the reaction of the Russian people was muted. He is a sick man, he said. He has to go. He gave us some freedom, says this woman, especially the freedom of speech. Now, who knows what things will be like?
There was a time when millions of people thought of Yeltsin as a hero, but more recently most Russians think of him simply as a corrupt tyrant or even a buffoon. But no one can deny that his resignation on the eve of the new millennium ushers in a new political era for Russia. Elizabeth Palmer, CBC News, Moscow.
In Ottawa, the Prime Minister paid tribute to Boris Yeltsin. Jean Chrétien said Yeltsin's determination and vision had transformed Russia and given it a place among democratic nations. Well, it's turning into a party around the world. Fireworks have now lit up the skies in many of the world's capitals to mark the beginning of the year 2000. Daryl McIntyre wraps up the celebrations so far.
It was Christ's birth in this small town that started all the counting, and tonight, thousands in Bethlehem marked the millennium with the release of 2,000 doves and a song for peace. Peace has been a common theme as New Year's breaks around the world. In Africa, where Nelson Mandela revisited a prison cell that was his home for 17 years, and in the South Pacific, where the very first people saw in the new year.
My dear child, take this torch of peace.
One thing missing from the celebrations, any hint of the Y2K bug. In fact, if there was any concern about it or any other Y2K chaos, you'd never know it from the crowds that turned out in Europe. From Paris to Athens to Madrid. In London, they promised the world's biggest Millennium Bash. That may be so far, but then, in just a few hours, the new year will arrive in North America. Darrow McIntyre, CBC News, Toronto.
It's been quite a day so far, partying across all of Asia, through the Middle East, and now through Europe. Now the time zones clicking across the North Atlantic. Not too many people there witnessing the new millennium. The next big time zone is, of course, Newfoundland. And we're just a little more than 3 hours away from that. And nobody can party like Newfoundlanders. So we're expecting quite the scene in the harbor at St. John's later on this evening. We're going to take a whip around of all the different places, or many of them anyway, that we'll be going to in our coverage when it starts up in about an hour and a half after the Air Farce New Year's Eve special. In these next 35 minutes, we'll give you a chance to get a sense of what we'll have in store for you through the 6 hours of time zones in this country. But first, we want to check in on that internet connection. You know, we've been talking about it all day. Rex Murphy is monitoring the internet for us, our website, www.cbc.ca. And Rex has been the master of calculating your thoughts about the great Canadian moments and people.
This is surely a deep sarcasm you're introducing us with. I noticed Boris Yeltsin on that last clip. Was he having an early millennium celebration there?
He was partying like it was 1999, and that will be his year, I'm afraid.
Probably was. We haven't got much change in the major leadership, but there's one interesting contention. In the poll on the great athletes of this century, as we all thought, Gretzky for most of the day has been light years ahead of everybody else, but now it's turning into an actual skating contest. You've got Gretzky at 33% of the votes, and we've got Kurt Browning at 31%. So there's a late rush to introduce another challenger to Mr. Gretzky.
I mean, you know, this is going to surprise a lot of people, but Kurt Browning, you know, he won the World Championship, I think it was 4 times. This was no flash in the pan as a great skater, and it's interesting that Kurt's fans are obviously hitting the old keyboard on the computers.
I think they're hitting the keyboard, and they are exerting a challenge to the one we thought was probably a pretty definite fix.
The night is young, though.
Otherwise, in the major categories like writers, that more or less stays the same. Lucy Maud Montgomery, Leanna Green Gables is still close to lead, Margaret Lawrence being second.
That is a close one.
I'll skip just to 2 or 3 more. Trudeau is again so far out in advance that he swallows everybody else, and you'll notice at the very bottom, once again, the rebuke to Mr. Mulroney continues. He's there only at 3%.
You know, if this was election night, we'd be declaring a winner on that one.
I think we would be declaring a winner on that one. In fact, we have a comment from one of the viewers there referring to the 3% with Mr. Mulroney. It says here, I believe the CBC should use its considerable skills in trying to find out who those people are who are voting for Mr. Mulroney. So it persists.
You know, they're never fair. They're never fair.
It's a difficult one, and the last one we have here in terms of leaders.
We got to get out of this, Rex. We know that these are early.
These are early
calculations.
And we're going to also come up to some of the names that are not in these lists. We're getting a lot of run-in votes here, including you know whom.
Well, look, they're hustling us along here because we've got lots to show in this next 30 minutes. We want to give you a sense of what to expect in the evening. We've managed to talk to a lot of Canadians coast to coast to coast, and they're going to be taking part of the show. One of the people who we really wanted to be with us live tonight unfortunately can't, but she was able to record this message for us. Rita McNeil.
I'm so happy I had this opportunity to wish everyone in Canada a very happy New Year. This is a special New Year for all of us, and I'm going to be spending it at home here in Cape Breton. It's a time for family and friends, and I'd like to introduce you to 2 special people here. This is my granddaughter Rachel and my grandson Aiden, and I know they would love to wish you a happy New Year as well. Let's say it. Happy New Year, Canada!
And Happy New Year to Rita McNeil and her family. Great to have you back on the CBC, Rita, tonight. Let's go 3 hours away from the year 2000 arriving in Newfoundland, 3.5 hours for the rest of Atlantic Canada, including Charlottetown, where the host of Jonavision, Jonathan Torrance, is with us. Jonathan?
Peter, how are you?
Oh, listen, I'm great. It's been a spectacular show across Europe. We know, though, you and those 17,000 people gathered outside Province House are going to give us a show, too.
Yes, we are. In fact, 3.5 hours may be technically how long it is until the next millennium, but it sure doesn't feel like that here, where some small but mighty islanders have gathered. Hi, everybody. What's your name?
Jared Stretch.
And what do you think is going to happen in the new millennium?
It's probably the same as the last millennium.
Yeah, because I know I haven't seen excitement like this since the last millennium, and that was big news for all of us here. How about you over here? What's your name?
Cynthia Dennis.
And have you made some resolutions for this coming year?
Yes, I'm going to be a nice person for once.
You're going to be a nice person for once. Well, congratulations. You have to set the bar low, and that way you're never disappointed. I know myself, Peter, just from a technological standpoint, I've been using the bank machine every 5 minutes, and my bank account is still empty, so no change at all. Technology seems to be working the way it always did. Carrie Wynn McLeod on the stage behind me, Lenny Gallant still to come, Guinness World Book of Records. Lots of action here in Charlottetown. Plenty more to come. We'll send it back to you.
Okay, Jonathan, looking forward to talking to you later on with all that action coming out of Charlottetown.
Absolutely.
Let's cross the water to Sydney and Cape Breton in Nova Scotia. Laurie Graham, who was practicing dancing earlier. What are you up to right now?
Peter, I'm here with a lot of people who are gathering, getting ready to bring in the new year. Are we having fun? Are we getting ready? Yes. It's a really exciting time here for a lot of people, including these 2 people. Lloyd and Marie Beck celebrated their 50th anniversary last night. Their family has come from all around the country to join them. This must be an exciting time for you.
It is.
And are you excited about this evening?
Yes.
Yes, it's a wonderful time, Peter, and lots of people are getting ready to celebrate, waiting for the Bear McNeils to come on and play. And you know, there's a lot of Celtic music that comes out of Cape Breton. One of our very own, Bruce Guthrow, couldn't be with us here in Sydney this evening because he's in Glasgow, Scotland. Bruce.
Hello Canada, I'm Bruce Guthrow, and when I'm not in Canada working on my solo career, I'm fronting the band Runrig in Scotland. And I just happened to be here for their Hogmanay, which is what we call New Year's, and just wanted to say Happy New Year to you in this very special day. I'm thinking of you, and there's a few other people who would like to wish you a Happy New Year too, so come along. Come on.
I'd like to wish Canada a Happy New Year, and I'd like you guys to join me. Would you mind doing that? Would you mind that? Let's hear a big rounding cheer when he's here. He's here. Happy New Year, Canada. Would you like to say Happy New Year to Canada?
That's great from Scotland. We'd like to wish Scotland Happy New Year as well. Happy New Year, Scotland! Back to you, Peter. We'll talk to you later.
Hey, not so fast, Laurie. I got to see a close-up of that hat next to you, on your right.
What is that? You want to see the hat? Well, I'm so glad we have time to show you. The Happy New Year 2000 hat and the glasses. What do you think of that now?
Very good. She should have marketed those. You could have made a lot with that.
Yes, I think you're right. Peter thinks you could have made a lot of money tonight with that.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Enjoy it there in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Laurie Graham, thanks very much.
Talk to you later.
Okay, we're going to the other side of the country where Gloria Makarenko is standing by. Where are you? On top of Grouse Mountain, is that true?
On top of Grouse Mountain, I am, and it's a beautiful afternoon here, Peter. Now, when you think of Grouse Mountain, you normally think of either skiing or snowboarding, maybe a sleigh ride. You don't often think about ice skating on Grouse Mountain, but here we have indeed an outdoor ice rink, and with me here is the queen of ice skating in Canada in the 1970s, Olympic gold medalist Karen Magnuson, 1973. Nice to see you, Karen.
Nice to see you, Gloria.
Now,
nice
you were the queen of the ice in the 70s, and you've been coaching along some future kings and queens and princes of the ice we're going to see today.
Yeah, little Marilee Young that is here is one of our youngest at the Junior Nationals. She was 4th in all of Canada and has skated in front of about 16,000 people at the Air Canada Centre last year.
Oh, you must be so proud.
Yeah, I am. I'm coaching her and she's a delight to work with.
So you think a future champion as well?
You never know. You never know.
Well, tell us what Mira's doing now.
Well, she's doing her short program, trying in the snow. She's doing a wonderful job here.
It's a gorgeous setting for it,
yeah,
don't you
isn't
think?
it lovely? Yeah, this is a Beelman. Not many youngsters can do this spin. It's a reverse Beelman with a donut, she calls it.
And she's skating in front of the Millennium Clock. I don't know if there's an ice clock carved into the snow with 2000 in front of it. The time is 5 to 12, but don't let that confuse you.
Yeah. And now we have Eric Lyons coming out, who was novice champion last year and has now moved up to Junior Nationals, and he'll be off to Canadians in Calgary in end of January.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And he's a great young fellow from the North Shore. He's also a Bantam Repe hockey player and is just very good in both sports.
That's a wonderful taste of some future talent for Canada to be watching in the future. Karen Magnuson, thank you so much and Happy New Year to you.
Well, thank you and best of the millennium.
Okay, and Peter, lots more from Grouse Mountain tonight. We've got a torchlight parade, we've got Aboriginal procession and much, much more.
Spectacular setting you've got there. Great to see Karen Magnuson again. We'll talk to you again later, Gloria. Thanks very much.
Bye-bye, Peter.
Gloria Makarenko on top of Grouse Mountain outside Vancouver. And now, here we are in downtown Toronto where the sun set a couple of hours ago. And they're getting ready to party in this town. They've known to have a few good ones. And they'll especially be having one inside here, the Air Canada Centre, which is home tonight for the Tragically Hip concert. Our cameras are indoors there, and we'll be showing a number of the Tragically Hip selections as we warm up to midnight in the Central Canadian time zone for Ontario and Quebec. You won't want to miss that. You know, there's a lot of trouble for concerts in different parts of North America because of security concerns and people deciding to stay at home, and some really well-known acts were unable to sell out in different places. Some even had to cancel their shows. The Tragically Hip, who have this incredible record in Canada, sold out 2 nights of concerts, tonight and tomorrow night, and get it 22 minutes. All the tickets were gone. That's months ago. So this has been sold out for a long time, and we're looking forward to seeing their show later on tonight right here as part of our special. Well, we're going to take another short break, and 2000 Today continues right after this. Girl power, one of the big moments of the past century. As we approach midnight, is coming up in less than 3 hours now in Newfoundland, and we'll be covering live the celebrations there. Now, a few moments ago, we told you that the Air Farce New Year's Eve special comes up It's 21 minutes away from now. And that has, of course, been a tradition at the CBC for years now on New Year's Eve. A very special broadcast with our friends from Air Force coming up in 21 minutes. You won't want to miss a moment of that. Meanwhile, we spoke a few moments ago about the Air Canada Centre tonight here in Toronto, where the Tragically Hip are performing. The CBC's Ralph Benmergui is outside the Air Canada Centre. Are they starting to arrive yet? Concert it doesn't start, what, for another hour or two?
Well, you know, it's getting kind of busy. The people are starting to flow in. At 7:30, they're all supposed to be in their seats, but this is a rock concert, not supposed to be on time. These people are all getting... Are you guys getting ready to go in? Are you freezing? Yeah, they're freezing. Everybody's freezing, but soon they'll be in there and they'll be boiling, and that's the way it is. We'll have the Sky Diggers, the Tragically Hip, the Mahones, all kinds of people are going to show up. It's like a marathon. We, of course, will have the Tragically Hip live at about 20 minutes to midnight, and then about 2 minutes after midnight, we'll put them back on again and have a little more rock and roll.
All right, Ralph, thanks very much. Stay warm, eh? You're the first person to complain about the weather so far.
You know,
across the world, since Auckland, New Zealand, where it was raining, everybody said it's fine.
You're sitting in there, you're warm, and I'm coming to get you later.
Ralph Benmergui outside the Air Canada Centre in Toronto. North of Toronto at Bala, another big concert tonight. The Blue Rodeo playing. Adrian Arso is with us. Adrian.
Hi there, Peter. Did you say Ralph was the first one to complain about the weather?
Now, don't start.
Can I be number two?
A little cold up there, a little chilly?
It's cold, but it's going to get very hot and very crazy here pretty soon, I figure.
Now, this is the Key to Bala, as the sign says right behind you. This is a big hot spot in what they call cottage country north of Toronto, right?
Absolutely. Well, we're in Muskoka, and you know, it's one of those perfect cottage country kind of nights. A little bit of wood smoke in the air, the lake's starting to freeze, that sort of thing. And this Key to Bala is an institution here. In the summertime, maybe 40, 50 years ago, people would start coming here, start listening to the bands. That, you know, they'd come by boat, and the reputation developed that this was a great place, you know, to have a good night out on a warm summer night and listen to bands. And, you know, Guy Lombardo used to come, the Dorsey brothers, Duke Ellington. So this reputation over the years has built, and Blue Rodeo has caught on to this, and they love playing here. They've been here for years.
Guy Lombardo to Blue Rodeo. That's quite a performance.
I know, it's a bit of a stretch,
grouping.
I know. It's a couple generations down the road, but
Now,
this...
How many people can get in there? Is this a big concert?
Well, they tell us they can squeeze about 1,000 people in there, but, you know, given it's the winter, you got some big coats happening. I figure we're probably going to be looking at maybe 600 to 800 people. We've got a couple of bands lined up before Blue Rodeo. And, you know, it's one of these places, I don't know if you've ever been in here, but you don't so much hear the music as feel it in the core of your being. They were doing some sound checks earlier, and I was trying to write on a pad, and the walls were shaking. I could see the posters shaking, and my pen wasn't working very well, so it's going to be very loud.
Very loud and very good, I'm sure. The camera's in there, all set up to take a number of hits from Blue Rodeo. We're looking forward to that. When do they get on stage? Do you know roughly?
Well, it's funny. Jim Cuddy is actually playing in Barrie, playing a solo act first. Then he's going to drive up here, and the plan is that they'll be on they'll be hitting, you know, the guitars and stuff at about 11:30. That's what we're aiming for, and they're going to play right through until they decide they've had enough.
No, I love that. That is a classically Canadian story. Jim Cuddy, one of the big class Canadian rock legends, and he's driving up from one concert to get to a New Year's Eve concert. You know, we saw the Eurythmics earlier. They were, you know, they probably chop her around. Got to leave you, Adrian. We'll be talking to you later, because I hear that train whistling. It's coming down the track, and we know that this is the train from Halifax. It's going to Truro, and on board is the only person who can compete with that train sound is our own Colleen Jones. Now, I don't know whether we've connected yet with Colleen. We're going to try. We'll connect with her when this train stops. It's going to make a special stop for us so we can talk to... She told us she may be driving the train, but that didn't look like her up there. And that's probably a good thing for the other passengers on the Halifax to Truro train ride. Great idea. Colleen was on there with Ian James. Let's see whether we see any familiar waves from the window here. She's on there somewhere, and we'll be talking to her in a few moments. Well, she's somewhere on that train, and as we said, we will talk to her and see how that trip is progressing. She's coming now, you tell me? Really? Now let's hold on and see. Because we need an update. And nobody can give us an update like Colleen. One of the mainstays of the CBC morning show. Every morning you can catch Colleen doing the weather, doing the sports. She's somewhere on that train. There she is. Wave to us. We got you. We just can't hear you. We're trying to read lips here, Colleen. It sounds like you're saying you're having a great time. Yes. And you're looking forward to talking to us later. Yes. All right, Colleen Jones on board a Via train outside Halifax, and we'll be connecting with her a little later on. Well, from Halifax to Winnipeg, Diana Swain joins us. Diana.
Hi, Peter. We're out here on the skating rink at the Forks. We've got some skaters who are much better than I am from the Winnipeg Figure Skating Foundation, the best amateur skaters in Winnipeg, taking to the ice today. It is a perfect night for New Year's Eve. Just a little bit of snow falling. It's a little bit cool, which makes me look kind of cool in what I'm wearing, I think. And it's a great night to be outside for a family New Year's Eve, which is exactly what the Forks is about. It's just one venue, but they're expecting tens of thousands of people down here, which is pretty much what we had during the Pan Am Games. And there's lots of other things going on around town. I can hear some drums going on in my ear. That must mean that Chris Walby's over by one of the tents where they're making bannock. No doubt he's at the food tent.
How are we doing over here? Listen, we're in one of our traditional areas right here at TP. What a great room in here. I'm with Clarence Nipanak, his wife Barbara, and of course Kevin, the traditional singer right now. We're making some bannock right now, or scone as the Scottish people call it. Great stuff. Little smoke in here, but they tell me it's not normally like this. We just got a lot of people running around here. Great exhibition right now. We've also got something downtown at the Thunderbird right now. They're all coming down. I tell you, what a night. The Candlelight March. Candles lit by people coming from the four corners of the city. What a party, people. I'm telling you right now. Manitoba, Winnipeg is where it's at.
Chris Walby joining us live from Winnipeg. And Chris, of course, one of the mainstays of the CFL on CBC, our football coverage. Former Blue Bomber himself. And hey, when you listen to Chris, there's no doubt what was happening in the huddle. When Chris spoke, they listened. Even though he wasn't the quarterback, if he wanted to speak, everybody listened. We're going from Winnipeg to Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, where we're very fortunate to be joined tonight on stage in the casino in Prince Albert by one of Canada's greatest country and western singers, Paul Brandt. Paul, you just doing a sound check there, getting ready for tonight?
Northern Lights Casino. We're very excited about it. What a cool night. We've been actually following a lot of your broadcasts, and it's exciting to see everything that's happening along the world, and we're looking forward to getting this whole thing started too.
Boy, I'll say it was quite the sight across Europe, watching all those different performances and the excitement there. Give us a hint, if you can, of what we'll be seeing later tonight when we join your concert for a bit.
Well, we just try and roll this party out onto stage and make sure that everyone's having a good time. I think that the key to tonight is just going to try to make this as upbeat a performance as possible and have a great big party here for the new year.
And have you had any sense already how the people of Prince Albert are reacting to all this? They're getting pretty excited?
Yeah, I had a chance I took off for lunch today to Tim Hortons actually, and had a chance to run into a bunch of people, and they're just all very excited, looking forward to what the new year has to offer, and I think it's going to be a good time tonight. The spirits are definitely high here.
All right, Paul Brandt joining us from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. He'll be performing a little later tonight at the casino there in Prince Albert, and we'll be covering some of his concert live, which is great of him to let us in there to watch this. It'll be quite the night in Prince Albert and so many other communities across this country. We'll continue to tell you a little more about what you'll be seeing on our live broadcast when it begins a little more than an hour from now after the special Royal Canadian Air Force New Year's Eve special. Don't go away. We'll be right back on 2000 Today. Some great choices from Canada's youth about the Canadian event of the past century. You can register your choice on our internet website at www.cbc.ca. 8 minutes away from the Royal Canadian Air Force's New Year's Eve special. You won't want to miss a minute of it. But before we go to that, we're going to Banff, Alberta, where Paul Hunter is standing by. on the streets of Banff, and Paul, they tell me they're about to begin the Wapiti Walk. What's that?
The Wapiti Walk, indeed. The Wapiti is an Aboriginal term for elk, and in Banff there are plenty and plenty of elk. I'm surrounded by elk now, tiny little elk, two-legged elk. The elk are everywhere in Banff, and I know you'll be excited by this, Peter. We have the spiritual leader of the elk who's going to lead the Wapiti Walk, none other than Elk Guy. Elk Guy, how's it going, and what's going on tonight?
Well, tonight is the night, Paul, of the Wapiti Walk, December 31st. You can see everyone here. We're all going to be loud and proud.
Noisy elk.
And make our way up to the band center. We've had people working hard for weeks on making large puppets and hats and whatnot to celebrate our hooved and antlered friends, the elk and other animals in the park.
Interesting neckwear. What's the deal on the collar?
Well, this year, different from last, I got radio collared, as happens to many elk in town. Now the park can monitor my movements, but it's for my own benefit. Although I'm still quick, they might not catch me yet, and I might not be relocated.
Elk Guy, may I call you Elk Guy?
You may call me Elk Guy.
Thanks very much, Elk Guy. And Peter, it doesn't end there. We have the ever fashion conscious Millennium Man has come to Banff to bring in the new Millennium. May I call you, is it Mr. Man or Millennium Man?
Millennium Man.
Millennium Man?
Millennium Man.
What are you doing for the next 6 hours, and then what happens at midnight?
Well, I'm going up with the Wapiti Walkers up to Banff first night at the Banff Center. Up there, we're going to take our magical lanterns that you've seen. We're taking them up there to help bring in the Millennium in Banff, like people all over the world are doing with the symbols of light and fire. We have a bonfire, we have a laser show, and we want our lanterns to be a shining symbol of the Millennium Man.
Thanks, Millennium Man. And his once in a Millennium costume, I might add, Peter.
That is a tough question, you know, Paul, trying to decide whether, do you call him Millennium or do you call him Mr. Man, you know?
I've been wondering about this all night, so I think we're comfy with Millennium Man.
So they're ready in Banff, they're getting anxious and excited. What else is going to happen there tonight?
Well, there's also a big party at the Banff Springs, you know, a fabulous, fabulous hotel, like one of you know, the 20th century castle. There's themed rooms, we'll hope to show you pictures of that later on tonight, throughout the sort of 20th century, different theme of each decade in each room. Big party there. We're going to be up at the Fine Arts Center a little later on, and we'll come back and we'll let you know how it's going up there.
Okay, Paul Hunter reporting to us live from the streets of Banff, Alberta, and we'll be back there later on this evening as Alberta welcomes the new millennium, and that's a few hours yet for Alberta, another 6 hours before the new year hits in Alberta. Now, a couple of moments ago, I was telling you the Royal Canadian Air Force, the New Year's Eve special coming up on the CBC main network. That's 5 minutes from now. On News World, which is also, of course, broadcasting this special coverage, has been for the last, where are we at now? Hour 16 hours of live coverage of the millennium, clicking through the time zones of the world. On News World, a special 1 hour broadcast including highlights of these past 16 hours. And then rejoining us after the Air Force special in 1 hour's time at 9 o'clock here in Eastern Canada for the continuation of our live coverage through the evening, through all the time zones of Canada, right through to Hawaii and beyond. If there's a place in the world that will be celebrating the year 2000 tonight, you're going to see it right here live on the CBC. Now, we're hoping for some pictures from Edmonton of an event that took place there a little earlier this evening. Do we have those pictures? We do have those pictures. Well, let's look at them now. We don't have them. We do have them. Let's make a decision. Here they are. This is called the World Beat Powwow. For 12 hours today, starting at noon, the First Nations peoples are hosting a multilingual, intercultural powwow in Edmonton City Hall. These are scenes of the Grand Entry, which is a ceremonial procession of elders and dancers in full regalia, drummed in with an honor song. They bring with them banners, ceremonial objects, and artifacts representing the different tribes and nationalities. The first-time event is significant in that it also includes the elders and dancers from a number of other cultures braided into the traditional powwow structure. Just a few of the cultures participating here include the Filipino, Chinese, East Indian, Nepalese, African, Celtic, Hungarian, and First Nations represented by Métis, Cree, Blackfoot, Blood, and Siksika. Well, that was some of the highlights of the World Beat Powwow.
I'm at the Ranchmans in
Lori
Calgary,
McNaughton
Alberta.
and
with
Ian Tyson. Let's listen to Lori.
Happy New Year.
Same to you, Lori.
Well, thank you very much.
You
I think it's
betcha.
going to be a great night.
I hope so.
Now, do you have any thoughts?
We'll only have one shot.
Well, that's right. That's right. Now, do you have any thoughts about the year 2000? How do you feel about it?
It was a great year for me, and big year. Now I have a huge tax bill for those wonderful guys in Ottawa, so that's why I'm here.
To bring in...
Pay them off and go back to ranching.
And how is ranching?
Ranching's pretty good this year. It could be better, but as long as I keep singing, it'll keep me in the ranching business, and I enjoy both very much. So.
Anything you'd like to tell the rest of the country?
I just wish them all the very best, and for those zany guys in Ottawa, our taxes are too high. You know that? Way too high. That's why we have to work all the time. And
see if they can do something about that in the year 2000.
Yeah, we work hard and they take all our money. So other than that, I think Canada's still a pretty good place to live in.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to your show later on tonight, and we'll bring that to you later.
All right, Lori, thanks very much. Lori McNaughton with Ian Tyson. And yes, we will be going back live to Ian Tyson for part of his concert in Calgary. Never loses the opportunity to send a message. He's been doing it through song and obviously through interviews for years now. Well, we're going to go live now to Ucluelet on the west coast of Vancouver Island. Look at this, the last sunset in Canada in the 1900s. The sun beginning to dive down into the ocean in the far west. If you've ever been to the west coast of Vancouver Island, you'll see sights you'd never imagined in this country. It is spectacular. All up the coast from Ucluelet to Tofino, short stretch there of 18, 20 miles or kilometers. Spectacular beaches, a rugged landscape. We'll be going back to a beach party in Ucluelet later tonight, but there she goes, the sun disappearing into the ocean. You've seen it, the last sunset of the 1900s in Canada. Well, we got 30 seconds to wrap this up. Please stay with us. The great Airfare special on the CBC main network, a recap of the past 16 hours on News World, and then coming up just an hour from now, everything from the Tragically Hip and Blue Rodeo in southern Ontario to Great Big Sea in the St. John's Harbour, along with Kim Stockwood. We've got bands, entertainers, singers, and your thoughts and your votes for the Canadian of the Century. Don't miss it, right here on CBC.